Hello there, and welcome to Mission Unstoppable. We're in May. Can you believe it? They say that, they say that the April showers bring May flowers, but I think it's May rain, and I don't know what it brings. But it's been a pretty rainy season, that's for sure. You guys might remember in 2015, I was inspired to go from being on a radio show to creating the Good Radio Network, radio that does a world of good, because for me, it was time to step into the area of social impact, and I was greatly inspired by the United Nations global goals. Did you guys know that 193 of the world's countries agreed to the 17 global goals? They're now officially known as the Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs, you might hear, and as well as that they will be completed by 2030. Only one country remained outside of this union. We are 5 years in, and while there's still lots of work to be done, we have the power to end poverty, we have the power to fight inequality and address climate control, and we have the power to end hunger. But it's not just up to countries, it's also up to us as individuals to show up with an urgency and address our future together. So my guest today, she's done that. Seema Sanghavi, she has showed up in a huge way. She's to fight food waste and hunger with her company, Cooks Who Feed. Seema's addressing global goal number 2, the fight to end hunger. And she's a perfect example of the impact that one person can make when they are passionate, driven, and care about a cause. It isn't the first time I've addressed this topic, and I'm sure it's not going to be the last time. There are 2 billion people, or 26.2% of the world, are food insecure. But instead of letting me tell her story, let's meet Seema and have her talk about her journey and her movement. And welcome, Seema.
Thanks for having me, Anne.
You know, it's always interesting to me, and I write about this and I talk about it all the time, because when I switched over to the Good Radio, I sat and I meditated for a long time. I go, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Like, I just need something new and different. And God spoke, if you want to call it God, the universe, whoever, said, go and find one person who can change the world, because all I hear is, what can I do? I'm just one person. So here you are, one person who's making a huge impact in the world. So how did it happen for you? And how can it happen for other people?
Yeah. So I actually don't look at it as me doing it on my own. I feel like I've got a great team behind me. So as you know, Anne, we produce aprons that have a give back model. So for every apron sold, we provide 100 meals. And I do that through partnerships that I have established with charities around the globe that are rescuing food waste to feed the hungry. Every time we sell an apron, we share the proceeds with our charity partners to help do that. So obviously they're doing a lot of the hard work on the ground with their volunteers. And then of course our aprons are all handmade in India. We provide safe and fair work to marginalized women. So of course they're the backbone of this, really hand making all of our lovely aprons. So yes, I had the idea, but as I'm sure everyone's aware, it takes so much more than just
absolutely
idea, right?
Absolutely it does. You know, you're a social entrepreneur, and that the whole point of being that is, it's not that you do it alone, it's that very few people go from I have an idea to instigating it and finding all the parts to make it happen and put it into motion. You know, I always say I like to birth companies, I don't like to run companies. It's the fun part for me. So what was that moment for you when you looked around and you said, all these people, all this food's going to waste, like, yeah, what can I do? And I'm going to do something. Like, what made you go, I'm going to do something?
So the I'm going to do something moment actually came when I met the ladies at this NGO in Delhi, India. So it was in 2016. I was in Delhi for a friend's wedding, of all things, and knew about this NGO and thought, I'm here, I'm going to go see what they're doing. And that moment was when I thought, I have to do something to give more women like this opportunity. They were working so hard, and I just instantly felt a connection as well. I mean, my background is Indian as well, and I'm a huge, advocate for women's rights. So to see so many of them now so happy to have, for many of them, their first real job, their first for sure paid, fair wage job. And I think both my parents grew up in the partition in India. Unfortunately, my father's family was very, they lost everything when they had to move from Pakistan to India. Okay. And my dad was lucky enough to be sponsored by someone in the West to pay for his education. And that's how he ultimately came to Canada. So when I met these women, I really thought that could be me.
Yeah.
Any small change that could have
been. But for the grace of God go I. Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So really felt like I have to help. So it took me a good year to come up with the idea of Cooks Who Feed. I'm a foodie, so I knew I had to do something in that space, because that's what I'm passionate about. And I've heard from so many entrepreneurs, you've got to have that passion to keep going.
Yeah.
So I knew I had to do something in food, and I wanted to work with these ladies. But it wasn't until I read this article about food waste, and when I learned that, so much food, I think in Canada, over a third of the food that we produce in Canada ends up in a landfill. I thought that's kind of what
that's insane.
Yeah, that's when I connected the dots. That's it. We're going to make textile products for foodies and who are so passionate about food themselves, and we're going to fight hunger.
Right.
And we're going to do it using surplus food.
Who designed the aprons? They're really beautiful.
Oh, thank you. So it's a combination of like the women who are making them. We have a production manager and myself.
Oh, nice. Yeah. I love the colors. And, I guess it kind of reminds me in a way, some of the colors, what's the festival in India where the
Holi?
Holi, yeah. Like that saffron yellow and that fuchsia and the black. Like, it's beautiful. Yeah, the colors are really, really pretty. And so you say, okay, there's food waste, there's an apron, there's the outfit that chefs wear. Now, did you go out and go, I'm going to contact some chefs and see if they're going to come on board with me?
So the first thing I actually did was I launched a Kickstarter, because I wanted to make sure, I think when everyone has this aha moment, they, obviously you think it's wonderful, right? And your family and friends are going to tell you it's wonderful too. But until strangers tell you it's good and they're willing to pay for it, that's when I feel like, okay, now that you can, run this as a business.
Right.
And just because too, it's so difficult to get funding as a social enterprise, and as a woman of color, it's hard.
Yeah.
So I thought I'm going to do a Kickstarter, and that's how we'll fund the first production if it works. Luckily for us, we managed to meet our goal, and that's how I funded the first production. It was after that I started to reach out to chefs, and the rationale behind that was really, okay, I could reach out to all these foodie influencers, but I'm still bootstrapping this company. So why not reach out to people who are already so passionate about this and get them to, be brand ambassadors, and we'll create aprons with them, name it after them, try to represent their brand.
Sure. Who was the first one on board?
The first one on board was Chef Devin Rajkumar. So he was eager to be on board. He's, he does a lot of volunteer work. He does a lot just to make the world a better place himself.
Yeah.
So he was the first one we reached out to, and right away he was on board. So his apron is the black with the fuchsia.
The fuchsia, yeah, same one I got. Yeah. Love that one. Yep. Love that one. That was my favorite, actually. I like yours. I like the black with the white. So, are you staying in Canada with your chefs? Are you going to move out to the rest of the world, or?
Yeah, so we have moved out a bit. We do have a brand ambassador in the U.S., in Florida, Chef Art Smith. And Chef Art Smith actually runs his own, he has a charity that's focused on providing training, so teaching kids from underprivileged families how to cook and how to eat nutritiously. So I partnered with him. A lot of people know Chef Art Smith because for I think the first 10 years of his career, he worked for Oprah Winfrey. So he was on her show a lot. Yeah. She had her daytime talk show. So he's one of our ambassadors. So we have an apron after him, and his claim, like he's known for Southern food. Like he's your fried chicken, Southern chicken, like that's his thing. So his apron actually has an embroidered chicken on it.
Oh, that's cute. Yeah.
That was his thing. So so that was actually fun designing that with him. And then Christine? We also worked, and Christine. Yeah. So Christine, we actually brought on after Art Smith, but because I was really looking for a strong female chef, and it's hard to find. Like there's not too many. Actually, I shouldn't say there's not too many. I think the thing with strong female chefs, and probably a lot of just strong females in general, compared to male counterparts, they're not as I don't want to say showy, but more just about doing their job and doing it right. I find that the men chefs are a bit more, want to kind of
be more ego in it, or exactly. Ego driven maybe.
So it's a lot harder to find strong female chefs as brand ambassadors.
And I really love her tomato sauce. Like her pasta sauce is delicious.
Yeah, she's wonderful. I grew up watching her on TV. Like, so when the idea that that maybe she could help represent us came about, I was like, no, I don't think she's going to join us. Like, that's Christine Cushing. Like, that's who I
Yeah.
watch, on TV.
Yeah.
I'm like, but she was eager to do it. She helped us
It's
design
always
her outfit.
surprising, isn't it? Who will say yes to a good cause?
Yeah.
And yeah, they're real people. They're just people
Yeah.
who
And
happen to.
she's so helpful. Like, she was on Marilyn Dennis last week, actually, wearing our apron, and she had so many nice things to say about it. It was so
Oh,
wonderful.
that's neat. That's so
So
good.
yeah,
I
really,
love that.
really showed us a lot of love.
Yeah. Oh, that's sweet. So, have you reached out to the women? What's going on? I mean, COVID in India today. Like, what's
Yeah.
going on? I got a friend that just went back there, and he goes, Frankie. He says it's worse than the media showing. So, like, what's
Yeah.
going on? Like, are these
Yeah.
women safe or?
Yeah, so we've paused production right now, just because it is so unsafe, and obviously we want to make sure that they're safe, their families are safe, their neighborhoods are safe. But yeah, it is really bad. From what we've been hearing, from what I've been hearing from the team there, is that everyone knows someone who
Yeah.
has passed now from COVID.
Yeah.
Um,
That's really sad.
we've got a few members of our team that are ill, not ill, but able to take care of themselves at home.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and yeah, it's just
Are they mostly like younger, middle-aged women or 30s or?
yeah. So most of the women are moms, young moms,
Mhm.
like late 20s, early 30s, late 30s.
Yeah.
I think there's a few women who are maybe in their early 40s, but mostly are like late 20s, early 30s. And the thing is too, a lot of these women, they live in multi-generational homes, right?
Sure.
So I think that's one big thing too with why the virus is,
Yes.
why they have the situation right now, because you've got, grandparents, aunts and uncles, everyone living in this
Everybody's
tiny
lives with you.
home.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think it's so easy, and just culturally too, it's normal for someone to show up at your house with food, and it's
Yeah.
that kind of culture. So it's so easy for this virus to spread. And, we thought, the thought of, oh, could we send some like a sewing machine home with the women? But the issue is, well, they're home now and they're having to care for elderly people,
Yeah.
elderly family members. They're having to care for their children. Like, over here, as I have young children, and I can't, like, it's hard for me to work, and I don't have,
Right.
elderly or parents to take care of. I have electricity all the time. I have, we can each have our own little quiet spot in the house. That's not their reality, right?
That's
So
true.
it doesn't make sense for us to provide them with tools to work at home. I don't think it would be efficient.
So is it demand on order, or like do you have like a sufficient amount of, every color here in Canada stored, or like how do they send it?
So right now, there are a few designs that we're running quite low on, but we've got ample supply in some other designs. So luckily, we did have an order arrive, a shipment arrive, sorry, right before the lockdown.
Yeah.
So I'm just taking it day by day, really, to say, okay, how long is this gonna go on for? And there's a queue as well with our fabric, like our
Yeah, I was
mill,
going to ask
all
you
the
about the fabric.
mill.
Yeah, where did the
Yeah.
fabric come from? What country?
So everything's locally sourced
Everything's
in
in India. Okay.
Yeah, because we try to keep just to be, as environmentally friendly as possible. So everything is locally sourced. Some of the fabric mills come from the state north of Delhi. So we're hopeful that once they start opening up, and I think they will definitely open up much earlier than Delhi, at least that can start going. Because usually for us, like, that is the first thing, is ordering the fabric, and that takes a good month before we
Right.
have the fabric on hand. So I'm hoping that at least that can start going soon, so that once we have the fabric, Delhi is ready to open up.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's taking it day by day.
How many ladies sew it for you?
So the NGO right now has over 50 women that they hire
Nice.
full time, and most of these ladies have made aprons. So most of them are involved in some part of our production, whether it's the actual sewing or cutting or Q&A, quality control.
Yeah.
There's different hands that touch the fabric at different points.
Sure.
And what we do is, when the last person to stitch the apron, when they're finally wrapping up, we just tied in a simple ribbon. They signed the hand tag saying that they made the apron, so they were the last hand to touch that apron, so they signed it off. So that way who made your apron.
Yeah.
I mean, that being said, like I said, it is actually handful of women that are probably involved in the whole process, but the last woman signs her name.
That's really cool. I like that idea a lot. The okay, so we've got your production. Everything's happening over in India. Do you ever feel like, oh my God, I'm not there. I need to have my hand touching it, or you feel confident that the show is being run?
I feel confident. The team is really wonderful. Working with the NGO has been such a great experience. And I think also, like, when you're working with people who, they're so grateful to have this opportunity, they're not going to mess it up.
Yeah.
And they do they go above and beyond. Like the quality that we get from them is wonderful, and I couldn't ask for more. I really trust them. What's been difficult is not being able there to have input for like new designs, or like the sampling is taking longer.
Right.
And just having, seeing something through like Zoom is not as efficient. And then when they have to send me a sample so I can see it, that all takes time.
Yeah.
So the last few times when we came up with new designs, I was on the ground. I was there. I could see the colors, because colors sometimes do look different than the screen.
Yes.
So I was, I went there to do that. So, if something doesn't look right, we could go back to the market the next day, pick up something and try something different. So that process is taking longer, but I feel that's more on me. I'm
like, do you dream, oh, this apron would be nice, or that apron would be
Oddly enough, I do. I do. And sometimes, like the last time I was there, just walking through the market and looking at all the colors, like that gives inspiration as well.
Sure.
Right? Like, oh, that's a beautiful color, and it would look so nice with this color. And so that is what has made like coming up with new designs challenging.
Yeah.
We're right now, well, now it's paused, but we are launching our kids line.
That's right.
Aprons as well. So that's on pause, but it's still definitely happening.
But is the kid still in? It's gone past the funding part now. You've actually.
Yeah. So we raised the funds.
Oh, okay. Because I was on the site this morning and it says that you hadn't. So okay, maybe it needs to update.
Yeah. Oh, probably. So we raised the funds, but now just for production we're on hold.
Yeah.
But the goal is to have these little aprons out by the summer.
I can't wait.
For that, we've just done matching. We've matched our 3 most popular designs. So
yeah,
easier from a design perspective because we've basically just shrunk them.
Yeah.
Right. They're little mini versions, but we thought a lot of people like to match. Right.
They do, especially moms, new moms, and moms like mom and me. They love that. My best friend or something. They think that's really cute. Can you give out that website?
Yeah.
So that people can order for the kids, order for themselves too. Do you have you have a price point for 2?
So our website, cookswhofeed.com, right now it's just the adult aprons that are for sale. Once we have the kids more or less like the production complete, that's when we'll put them up on the website. So our adult aprons range anywhere from $65 to $75. And the kids' aprons, we haven't finalized pricing yet. It'll be a little bit cheaper.
Right.
But to be transparent, most of our cost goes towards providing the 100 meals.
Right.
So not too big of a difference, but obviously take into account that it is cheaper.
You want to get the 100 meals out there. Absolutely. Yeah. I understand that totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's savings in because we're using a little less fabric, but the time to make them still takes more or less the same.
Sure.
But there will be they will be cheaper than our adult aprons, but not like half the price or anything, because most of our money goes towards the 100 meals and making sure that we're providing fair wages to our ladies. That's really important to us.
Right. Yeah. Do you have a cookbook with it?
So we don't have a cookbook yet. The plan is, as we grow, I actually want to reach out to our customers, and I thought it'd be kind of fun to do
a little
contest to say, what is that recipe in your family that brings everyone to the table?
Yeah.
And then create something like that. And in addition, asking our chef ambassadors to provide their recipe as well. So that, it's a I guess I want to say a product of love, but everyone getting involved in saying, here, this is what brings everyone around the table in our family.
Yeah.
I really like that idea.
I like it too. That's cool. Or, what were you inspired to make when you first put the apron on?
Yeah, that's a good one too. I really feel that with when you're a foodie, there's, like I always say, there's nothing better than great conversation and great food, right? To be surrounded with friends and family and enjoying great food. And that to me, like, I think when people love that so much and they understand that there's so many people who don't have that, they're more passionate about solving that problem. and people get it when you say, well, what's that meal that brings everyone around the table, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like it's no one can solve hunger on their own. It's all about getting everyone together, and I really think that if we could unite food lovers, that's when it can happen. So I feel like if we came out with this cookbook, it would have to be, reaching out to all our customers to say, okay, now what's your favorite recipe?
Right. It'd be fun to have the kids one too. See what the kids
Yeah.
cook. The how are your kids with you running this show here?
Um, it's it's interesting. So they don't think it's my business; it's our business. They get just as excited when we have a shipment show up and we have to go through everything. They're so excited now for the kids' aprons, and of course I use them to be models.
Sure.
But yeah, I think it's been an eye-opening thing with them as well, because I tell them this is what I'm doing. We're feeding people. That's why every apron has this red label that says one apron equals 100 meals. So I think it's really been great for them to see that, like to know that, okay, I want my children to know that if you want to do something in life, if there's a problem you want to fix, you can.
Right.
For both me and my husband, that's I grew up very much from an Indian parent perspective, and an immigrant Indian perspective, that you have to go to university and become a doctor or this, or and I'm very mindful of wanting to make sure that my children understand that let's not label what you're going to be like from a career perspective. Let's just look at what are you passionate about, what problems do you want to fix in the world, and you can do that. So I feel like at least this is giving them, a bit of an eye opener that you can do that. You don't have to go and, find your typical 9-to-5 job. If there's something you're passionate about, go solve the problem, and that could be your job.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's given them just a different outlook on life. Both my husband and I are entrepreneurs, so they see us both doing things that we're passionate about, which is wonderful. But unfortunately for my kids, my husband runs, it's very much a tech company, and I don't know if they fully understand. My kids are quite young. So I don't know if they really understand what his company is about, but with mine, it's like, hey, here's the product, this is what it does. So they get that. Did
they have any friends at school who are food insecure, or that don't get to eat, or maybe have breakfast at school, or are they cognizant of that?
Yeah. I mean, they have said to me when we've had the discussion, oh yeah, this person at school sometimes doesn't have lunch, and this person, they notice these things now, and I think they didn't notice it before, and now they notice it. Yeah, for sure.
That's
and
great.
We try to do like every year around the holidays, we'll go out. We just create like little care packages with we make sandwiches, and we put like little meal replacement drinks, and we put socks, and we put things in a little bag, and we go give them to homeless people. And
nice.
That's been an eye opener for them as well.
Yeah. That's great.
To be honest, and that's been an eye opener for me as well. Doing that, it's something we've done for 4 or 5 years now. And the first time that we did it, I remember going with my kids, and I was nervous, and I thought it was really strange. I'm like, why am I nervous to go and give this to somebody? So I had to really check myself and say, why am I afraid? Like, why is there this fear?
Was it fear, or was that a little bit of guilt that you have so much and they have?
I don't know. I don't know if it was, I don't think it was guilt. I think it was more on the fear. Like, I remember the first place we went, we were in downtown Toronto, and we were under one of the underpass for the Gardiner. And because there was some homes there that we've noticed, like some shelters set up, right?
Sure.
So we went there, and I was scared, and I thought, why am I scared? And so that just made me realize, okay, maybe that people do have this fear of homeless people, and it's not rational.
Yeah.
It's not rational. So I really had to check myself and make sure that, okay, I don't
pass that on.
That same fear, to my children.
Yeah, it's interesting what we give our kids, consciously, unconsciously, and the I had a condom business when my kids were young. So, AIDS was big in the 80s, and I was working for Toronto Health in public, and I was going out, and I had my own customized condom packaging business, and my kids would help to tear them apart, and they wouldn't tell their friends, they were embarrassed. But but my son, when he was like 16, he goes, "What's the best condom to use?" And it was kind of funny. Yeah. But you know what? They saw, and they see you get involved with things. And my daughter's like one of the biggest volunteers. She just won Volunteer of the Award, with her business and stuff. And it's like they get it, and they carry it through to adulthood. And so it's a wonderful thing that you're doing with them, really. And they'll I'm sure that your kids will come up with something too that they'll be passionate about and bring out to the world and change and fix. Nobody's going to do it. I mean, everybody's waiting for somebody else to do it. Why doesn't someone do that? And you're that someone. We're that someone.
Though, I think a big thing with that is just because I met these women, right? I think it's different when you know something, when you understand a problem, but when you don't really see it, it's easy to remove yourself from it, right? Like you see these commercials for like World Vision on TV, and that exists, that people live like that, but it's different when you're there. And I think that's why I think that moment was so important for me. Like when I met these women and realized, okay, yes, I knew people lived like this, but until you get to talk to them and know their stories, then it changes you, right? Then you are changed. You're changed as a person.
Right. Yeah.
So really, I felt like, okay, if I go back to Canada and, forget about this, and shame on me, because I've had this opportunity now to meet these ladies and know why it's so important, from a personal level, that they have these opportunities.
What did you have to supply? Did you have to supply the machines, sewing machines for them, or a place for them to do it? Or do they do it together in a building, or where do they go?
So the way the NGO works is that they were already well set up,
established
before I even met them. They've actually been around for 10 years.
Okay.
Actually, just over 10 years now. So when I had met them, they were, I think, just over 20 ladies, and they had the sewing machines, and a lot of the stuff as well gets donated to them as well. The training to train them, we do have someone come in to train the ladies, but in all honesty, they already know how to make clothes, because a lot of them have to make clothes for their children, but they make them by hand. So it's really just teaching them how to use these industrial sewing machines and the cutters, which doesn't take too long. When I had met them, one of the biggest things that the NGO management was telling me was that, they were getting orders from some designer brands in Europe and in North America to do one or two different product lines. But they're saying the issue with that is that it's not a sustainable way to grow the team, right? If you just do one product line, or it could stop, it could just be this one selection, one for this season and it's done. And also they were getting them to make things like handbags and dresses and things that really took these ladies a long time to perfect before they could actually produce.
Yeah.
So I think one of the things when I was talking to these ladies was that, if it takes you months before you can actually feel like you're being productive and doing your job, you're so disheartened, right? Your ambition level has shrunk drastically. Sure. It's your first job, right? And your whole life you thought you couldn't do it. Yeah. So now, so when I came up with this idea of Cooks Who Feed, I really wanted to stick with a product that I'm like, okay, within a few days they should be able to make this product.
Yeah.
That was key for me, because I really want them to just come on board, feel, get that confidence right away and produce. So that was a big thing for me that I noticed that the NGO was struggling with when I joined, was how can we make simple products that are in need, that people will, use these products, but they're simple enough to make that these ladies can definitely get going right away.
Yeah.
So they feel like
there's a satisfaction of completion too.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. So and I keep that now in mind whenever we look at other products. So the kids' aprons are what we're doing now, but we are looking at other kitchen textiles like oven mitts and tea towels and placemats and everything. I want to make sure that they should be something that they can get trained on relatively quickly. Yeah. So I guess where I come in is with that fact. When I'm there, I help. Okay, this is what it should look like. These are the specs. And
little chef hat for kids would be cute.
So we do have those coming.
Yeah, those are cute. That'd be cute. But you see a lot of the guys wear bandanas and stuff in the kitchen because they're always sweating. All that sweat's going in their food, right? So something like that is easy. Make a bandana. I mean, it's nothing, right?
Yeah,
but it matchy.
Good idea.
Yeah, there you go. I'm an idea person. That's all I do. Seema, thank you so much for coming on. You've been great, and what a wonderful idea that you had, and it's always great for me. I just love to talk to entrepreneurs and people who are taking it, and running with it. Because so many people watch TV and they go, "Oh, I had that idea.
Yeah.
And I've got I've got a few books that I've written, but one of my Frankieisms is that opportunities come to everybody, just not everybody actions upon them.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. It's, yeah, we all have that idea, but one person took it that step further and created, the actual product or the mission with it. So good on you. And
it's fear, right? It's fear.
It's
People
fear.
are afraid, and I feel like,
or they don't know how. Sometimes they just don't know how,
yeah.
and it's not that. Well, when you know how, it's not that difficult. But when you don't know how, it is, and you don't know people, or you don't know how to go about doing some things. But obviously, you're very intelligent, and you figured it out, and good for you. And I hope people will be inspired to go and do their own thing from you too.
I hope so too. Don't. I think the worst thing is if you're, old and gray and have that thought, oh, I wish I would have. I feel like that's probably the worst feeling. So,
well, I've got a company called Rent a Believer. I'm a coach too, and Rent a Believer is about, because as a coach I figured out, what do I do as a coach? I hold the belief for people that they can do stuff until they can do it for themselves. And so it's like, you don't need me forever, you just need me for a little bit. You just rent that belief I have in you that you can accomplish something, because I know that you can. I know that people can do whatever they set their mind to, and then you let go and you say, okay, now I know how to do it on my own. And that's all it is a belief in self. I think is the number one, self-confidence and desire, passion and desire, really. So I can't wait for the kids' aprons to come out. I'm really excited. I'll be excited to see your new products. And how can people find out about who's getting fed? Like, how do we know? Like, how is that?
Yeah. So on our website, we do have a detailed page on where the food's going. So we have our 3 charity partners. So Second Harvest in Canada is our Canadian partner, Second Harvest. And we work with a charity called Rescuing Leftover Cuisine. They're in the US. They're pretty much in every major city in the US. And then in Asia, we work with Feeding India. So they all rescue food waste at different levels of the food chain. And a lot of it depends on like the different laws in each country. So in Canada, there's a lot of strictness around, where the food comes from.
Right.
Most of the food for Second Harvest comes from the farmers or at the grocery store level. Our partner in the US, most of their food comes from restaurants and cafes. And with Feeding India, most of their food actually comes from social gatherings and weddings and catered events.
Yeah.
So those are our 3 charity partners. Over a third of our profits go towards supporting these charities so that we can get to the 100 meals. It's actually 107, but we just figured that didn't sound catchy.
That's not cool. 107.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I remember, I had Jordan from Ugly Fruit, and he was on a couple years ago, and it's amazing that all that food is thrown out because it's ugly. It's misshapen, or it doesn't look perfect, and so you have this imperfect food that people would die to eat, just going in a garbage dump. Like, it's crazy.
Same nutritional value, and when you cook it, you won't know.
Yeah, cut it out, cut around it or whatever the case might be. But wow, that's crazy. Anyway, thanks so much for being on the show. I'm going to say goodbye, Facebook, and we're going to stop the live stream there. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I'm just going to stop our recording.